Hey, howdy, hey, fellow armchair Imagineers, BlueDragonFive here. To celebrate the forthcoming release of Toy Story 4, I bring you another exciting edition of Pixar Debates. Tonight's roundup of topics includes the following: Best Arc in a Pixar franchise, Most Perfect Pixar Pair, and Best June Pixar Release. So without further delay, grab your door stations, board your Pizza Planet trucks, buckle up, and make a right on the EAC straight down Route 66 to our little toy box we lovingly refer to as the Arena! In this corner, a foodie from the future with a penchant for his ratatouille in a cup and recent graduate of Miss Fritter's Racing School. It's Tiki!
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it.
And in the opposing corner, he's bigger, he's better. He once blew up 3 sharks with a bad joke. True story. It's Jacob Wile!
Nice.
The fellas, how we doing tonight?
I'm pretty excited for this one.
Yeah, me too.
Good to hear. Okay, for those folks joining us potentially for the first time, and because we're doing things up a little, we're getting a little ambitious with things tonight, let's go over a little refresher of the rules. Or because we're just referencing other things non-Pixar, according to Mr. Crazy on the left here, let's consult the rules.
That rules.
Anyway. Okay, folks, I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. We got 3 rounds, 3 main rounds, and the way it's going to unfold is one of these two chuckleheads are going to, both of these chuckleheads are going to reveal their pick. They're going to give an opening statement, which they're going to basically stake their claim, kind of get their, their opening arguments, all the good stuff, kind of out in the forefront. And then it's a fight to the finish. And you hear my little compatriot here, R2-D2 raise his lovely, lovely voice. That means I've heard enough, the round's over, and I'll deliberate casting judgment and sentencing. Sentencing, who gets the point, vice versa, all that stuff. At the end of 3 rounds, we bring in the Luxo coin. Lux be a baby tonight. So, of course, the Luxo coin is completely optional function of the show here, which means at the end of 3 rounds, I will offer these two guys a flip of the coin here. Lands heads, you get a point. Lands tails, not so lucky, you lose a point. That's the risk you take, and both of these competitors have agreed of their own volition. Again, I echo that as also an optional feature. They don't have to do this, but per their request, I have snuck in. We're going to test out a little new feature here, folks. We're going to see if it sticks. If it's just too convoluted, maybe just kind of fall by the wayside. We don't know. Point being, I've hidden a secondary secret coin in one of the first 5 rounds, as in it could be in round 1, 2, or 3 of the main rounds, or the first 2 speed round questions. And of course, speed round questions, as per usual, when we get there, 30 seconds statement followed by a 15-second rebuttal, timer on the clock, that sort of thing. So basically, in one of those potentially 5 questions, kind of mix it up, put in the randomizer off screen. So it means there's a hidden coin in kind of the ham piggy bank within the rounds, if you will. Of course, once we reach the speed round, we'll be playing to 5 points. So that's what we're working with here, folks. Gentlemen, do you understand these rules as I have explained them here to you this fine evening?
Okay, as someone who loves games like this and who loves coming up with new rules, I am so happy that we're doing this. I am so excited. The second coin, baby, the hidden coin. Let's do this thing. I am stoked for this.
Yep.
Oh, heck, you can't wait to see how it turns out.
All right.
All right, so I guess that brings us to the randomizer. Let's go to the randomizer.
Woo!
Woo!
Of course, in alphabetical order, like Vegas here, I want to keep things completely random. And as expected, the randomizer hates Jacob on a regular.
Womp womp.
Randomizer hates Jacob like he broke her heart, and Jacob's going first this round.
Again.
Wile, you heartbreaker, you man. The randomizer is a fickle mistress. I don't know what to tell you, buddy boy. All right, that brings us to round one. Oh yay, oh yay! Let the Pixar debate begin.
Have I ever not gone first of these kind
The
of things?
bakery is now open.
What?
The bakery is now open, Dragon. That magical
Oh right,
moment I had.
right. No, I got you. I'm saying the way that voice came across. I wasn't
Bakery
sure.
is now open. Would you like to try the shortbread?
See, that's what I keep thinking of instead of like the whole window
Okay.
open.
Sorry,
All right,
sorry,
anyway.
sorry. I should-
Let's keep on
You'd like
point
to
here.
try the shortbread? Anyways.
All right. So round one, of course, for those just anyone tuning in, just kind of say it up front too. Of course, folks, you have a voice as well. You know, keeping up with things here. You cast a vote, it will be considered. For all we know, I could toss it to you and it could decide the round. Nobody knows. We'll see. All right, round numero uno. What is the best character? I'm gonna give you the full question now, guys. It's the full semantical, big official question. The legalese of it all. What is the best character arc in a Pixar franchise? Now, just to for the folks at home, that means out of all the Pixar franchise, they include multiple films, more than one, which not counting Toy Story 4, pre-Toy Story 4. You have Toy Story, you have Finding Nemo, you have Monsters Inc., you have Incredibles, and you have Cars. You have at least 5 franchises. They had at least 5 franchises to pick from, and all the characters within said franchises. Okay, who has what?
I have Sheriff Woody from Toy Story.
All right. Sheriff Woodrow Pride. Little fun fact: Woody does have a last name. It is Pride.
Yep.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yep.
I honestly, I think the fact that his first name is actually Woodrow is even more amazing. Okay, I am going with Kerchow, hashtag Lightning McQueen.
All right, Tiki's got McQueen.
I've got McQueen, baby. I
Right.
actually rewatched Cars 3 just today, just in preparation for this.
Is it still on Netflix by chance?
Yeah, it is on Netflix,
Huh.
conveniently.
What a coincidence. All right.
That actually helped my day out quite a bit. I was like, yay, I don't have to pay for it.
All right, Jacob. Opening statement when you're ready.
What can you say about Woody? I mean, he's pretty much a pop culture. He's pretty much a cultural icon. But why? But why is he? It's because he's pretty much the centerpiece of the Toy Story movies. It can be argued that the first movie was more about Woody and Buzz, but the franchise as a whole is especially about Woody's arc as a character, Woody's character development. Throughout the first 3 films, like I said, obviously we can't say anything about 4 because that hasn't come out yet. Well, hasn't officially come out yet. Throughout the 3 films, we see Woody continuously grow as a character. I mean, pretty much everyone else does too, but the story remains that Woody is pretty much the central focus, and his character arc is the main thread throughout each of these movies, and he's obviously the one that changes pretty much the most throughout all these movies. It's a character arc that transcends over 20 years. For various movies, for 3 movies. Especially the arc between Toy Story and Toy Story 3, we see him grow in many different ways, like where his views are challenged in every single movie. He's like these movies are kind of like Woody trying to find his true place in the world and what it truly means to be a companion and a friend. It's a very relatable, very welcoming kind of arc that could have easily been done wrong, especially with the kind of character that Woody was initially set out to be in these kinds of movies. He started off as like this kind of like this like know-it-all kind of leader, but then all that guy that basically just like didn't saw himself as more like the head honcho of Andy's toys rather than just a companion to everyone else. But over the course of the first movie, he learned. Obviously, learned his lesson, became friends with Buzz, and basically became a better friend and companion out of all that. And throughout the remaining 2 movies, we see him grow in all kinds of nuanced, even subtle ways. learning what being a true friend is all about.
Okay, Tiki.
Okay, so Kershaw, yeah, Lightning McQueen. Cars 3 is honestly one of the most underrated Pixar movies after I rewatched it, and I'm not going to hinge my entire argument on Cars 3, but I am going to hinge my argument on kind of like the mirror image between Cars 3 and Cars. Just to get it out of the way right now, because I know it'll come up. Cars 2, Lightning takes a back seat in that movie. He's kind of like the mascot in that movie. If anything, Cars 2, Lightning's main arc in that movie is sort of learning to accept people for who they are, which does kind of come around in some ways with Cars 3 with Cruz Ramirez, kind of like, sort of overcoming the generational gap as opposed to overcoming kind of the cultural differences with Mater. So there is kind of shades there with Cars 2 and Cars 3. But just overwhelmingly, the stuff with Doc Hudson and Lightning McQueen mirrored between Cars and Cars 3 is just absolutely fantastic. It's beautiful. We have Lightning just pushing Cruz Ramirez to the finish line, giving her finish, and it's just an iconic character passing the torch. And what I love about this move, what I love about this arc that makes it, I feel like, different from Woody's, is that this is finalized, man. Like, there is no way after this move from Lightning that Lightning is retired. He's hung up his hat. He's, he's not dead, but he's definitely sort of going to take on that Doc Hudson role in the franchise if they ever do a Cars 4 of, training people. And I think that's an interesting way to go with the character. And of course, the big themes of, mortality played big into Cars 3 with the first act, especially in the crash and everything. And Lightning McQueen is just a really fleshed out, fascinating character. He's got a beautiful mirror image arc with Doc Hudson that comes completely full circle in an incredibly satisfying way. And I just think it was really ballsy to take a character who is essentially Pixar's biggest cash cow in the toy department since Woody and Buzz, and make him, kind of give him a finalized ending, kind of give him a, an ending where he's not necessarily just going to go to the next kid's house and play. He is going to hate, like, this is the ending where the toys end up in the attic, so to speak, except, it's not that depressing, but I feel like it's the more melancholy ending out of the two, where Lightning is just kind of like, he realizes that his time is behind him, and he realizes that he is getting old, and that's what happens as you age and you get past your prime, and we really get to see that with a beloved character who's been like the big cash cow of Pixar for like over a decade. That was a risky move on Pixar's part, and I think more people should talk about Cars 3. All right, I'm done.
All right, guys, before we fight to the finish, just a little word of encouragement. I want you to think of the arena as a ring of fire. And I want, in the back of your mind during this fight, I want you to be appropriately raining down upon your opponent. Flaming death!
Oh, God.
All right, fight it out.
So deep.
Oh, man. All right, so I think Woody is a beloved character. He's an icon, of course. I feel like both of our characters kind of like almost equalize each other in terms of the marketability, how memorable they are, like, to a different generation. I mean, you got to admit, kids that grew up with Lightning McQueen. I was a freshman in high school when the original Cars movie came out, and I still have some nostalgia for it. Especially with Cars Land, but that's a whole different territory we won't go down. But I think that Woody Woody goes through similar situations throughout each movie, and he's like, oh, okay, I'm in this situation, and I have to trust these people, and oh no, these people screwed me over, so now I have to get my group out of it. And it's not that Woody doesn't go through an arc. He certainly does have an arc with Andy, for sure. That's the big crux of the movie, and I'm not going to argue with you there. I just think that there was a bigger. To me, I feel like the risks that were taken with Toy Story 3, like the more sort of theological, like, not only having like imagery and, like imagery that was frankly straight out of the Don Bluth movie in some aspects. But I also think that, I don't necessarily feel like the big thematic qualities of Toy Story 3, the stuff that everyone looks back on, kind of rest on Woody's shoulders in the same way that what people really appreciate about Cars 3, why people do consider Cars 3 the best of a very troubled franchise, is because Lightning McQueen's arc is wrapped up in such a satisfying way. And it's really a testament to how passionate the writers at Pixar were to get this iconic character right and to really close out his story and to really give the kids who grew up with Lightning McQueen, grew up collecting the cars and, I'm sure having like the Lightning McQueen bedspreads and pillowcases and all that. I'm sure there was a generation of little boys that grew up with that kind of stuff. And I feel like Cars 3 was almost just as powerful of a lesson of growing up and getting older, if not even more powerful than Toy Story 3. The only difference is that we didn't grow up with cars. That's literally the only difference here. I feel like if we were 10 years old, 10 years younger, and podcasting now, we'd be in tears over Lightning McQueen's arc. I mean, I really do feel like it's just a beautiful foundation for a lot of digging into and a lot of examination, especially the Doc Hudson stuff. Jacob, I'll let you fire in here. I'm sorry. I'm really passionate about it after watching Cars 3. I'm like, yes, there's so much to work with here.
Basically, let's see. I'm trying to think of a good firing point here. We're talking about like the quality of these character arcs as a whole. And while Woody does go through similar character arcs, it can arguably be said that his character grows in each individual movie. Lightning McQueen basically doesn't even do anything in the second movie. I mean, come on. I mean,
the big point that I know we're going to hit on this. Of course, that's the big flaw, and I admit that that's the big flaw. But I don't think it's that big of a deal because, like, does Buzz Lightyear really get that much to do in the second Toy Story movie? No, but by the end, he's got a satisfying arc with Jessie and everything. It's like certain movies cater to certain characters.
Yeah, but the main character of the first movie didn't really take a back seat. I mean, Vader wasn't even advertised to be like the main star. I mean, Lightning McQueen was, and he would.
No. Dragon, you can fact check this for me. Mater was definitely advertised to be the main star. Like the big main marketing pull for Cars 2 was the spy stuff. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Look, if it's in terms of, I can confirm that if we're asking in terms of like who was advertised more, I think it's generously be a 60-40 split in Lightning's favor. So Tiki, I'll roll in Tiki's favor on that one.
All right. Yeah, I just think like I will agree that on a film by film level, the obviously the individual movies are stronger, and that's something I'm not going to take away from you. And that's the thing in this argument. I'm admitting my faults, but I don't necessarily think my faults are enough to take away from what Pixar did to a new generation of kids. And I'd be really curious to talk with someone who was like 5 years old in 2006, and so what, he'd be like 20 now or something. And, like talk to him about like, hey, like how was your experience watching Cars and going through the trilogy, and what do you feel seeing Lightning McQueen essentially retire and get old and, kind of like go through the ranks? And it's not a depressing getting old. It's more of a, passing the torch kind of thing, because we got, I'm sorry, I keep hyping it up, but we got that beautiful Doc Hudson dynamic, where it's like the hero has become the teacher, the student has become the teacher, the student has become the teacher. That's the arc. It's a very simple arc. It's a very clean cut arc, but in clear-cut classic Pixar way, it's handled so beautifully. And like I said, I feel like there's an air of finality to it. I feel like after what Lightning has gone through in Cars 3, I really don't think that he's definitely going to stick around and train, but I do feel like the lesson that he learned is that his days are done and that it's time to pass the torch. And like I said, I think that's a really, really risky, bold move for a character who's essentially like the biggest marketing icon since Buzz Lightyear.
Well, that's the thing. Is like there are a lot of times when I feel that Lightning McQueen himself didn't even really earn his redemption. I mean, he was a flatly written character pretty much throughout the entire franchise, and it was suddenly this movie that allowed him to finally have pathos. I mean, even in the first movie, I stand by it. He barely deserved any of what happened, any of the recognition he got. I mean, he barely deserved any of the pathos or any of the emotional scenes he got.
Okay, well, I will argue in the first movie, it was all about his relationship with Doc that comes around in the third movie. In the first movie, he's a bit of a wild card, you know what I mean? That's what he is. He's kind of like the flamboyant hothead of the, he's essentially the young gun who is going to become his rival come the third movie. And that's what I find fascinating watching back with Cars 1, is that in Cars 1, Lightning is kind of that young, up-and-coming hotshot, and then by the time we get to Cars 3, Lightning is kind of like in the position of some of those older cars that were in the race. I think the King, or help me out here, guys.
Okay, well, which one are you referring? Are you referring to the first
The
movie?
one that Lightning helps in the original Cars.
It's the King. Yeah.
The King? Yeah, okay, good. Okay,
I forget his actual name in the movie.
Well, no,
but that's my point. It's like that's Lightning's lesson in the original Cars, is to be, humble. And then in Cars 2, like I said, it's not his movie. He's just kind of generic and nice. And my point is, Lightning McQueen in no way, shape, or form is the bad part of Cars 2. I would wager to say that the race scenes with Lightning McQueen are by far the best parts of Cars 2, because everyone says that one of the big strengths of Cars 2 is the animation, especially in the action scenes with the racing and in the locations and everything. Like, I love the fact that Cars 2 is this globe-trotting movie, and we do have Lightning McQueen in exotic locations racing around in these big action sequences. And honestly, for a sequel, I really think that's enough, especially considering Cars 2 is very much Mater's story. And then when we get around to Cars 3, Mater is very much on the sidelines, but he's still very much kind of like in the picture, delivering some heartfelt advice and, kind of some heartfelt moments along the way. But Cars 3 is, of course, largely Lightning's story. And I do feel like that's a very satisfying kind of, maybe a bit unintentional. Yes. Am I using it a little bit to twist my debate? Probably. But, like I said, my whole strategy with this is that I'm being a little bit, a little bit paper thin with my strategy. I'm kind of like showing you my hand as I do the trick. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, other than the fact that your character is basically only important in 2/3 of his own franchise, ignoring that fact.
I mean, I just said that he was the best part of Cars 2. Everyone doesn't like the stuff in Cars 2 that Cars 2 actually hinged on.
Yeah, but not the main.
Everyone agrees that the Lightning stuff was pretty okay.
Yeah, but he did, and the fact that they said, moving on, it can be arguably said that that Lightning, like I said, Lightning doesn't really deserve much of that. And like the hot jet stuff and everything, he didn't really earn any of it. He's like it just happens to him. It's like basically he didn't earn any of it. He just Doc tells him a sob story, tells him a story, and then I've been a real jackass, and then suddenly boom, like basically it's just a real quick. He doesn't earn any of that, and basically
it's like poetry. It rhymes.
By the time you get to by the time you get to the third movie, it's like, okay, it's like he's for some reason inheriting Doc's legacy, like but not a legacy he deserved or even earned. Woody's is definitely is more personal. And he said basically he just changed. He literally changed overnight. It was just like basically it was rushed into. He didn't really the story development didn't really earn it. It was like basically it was a quick fix.
I'm saying his development throughout the Cars franchise. That's where your argument kind of falls apart here. Because I'm saying
it's because of
that in Cars 2, he becomes kind of like this superstar car who is kind of like the ambassador to Radiator Springs, puts Radiator Springs up on the map in a big way, helps boost the economy of Radiator Springs in a big way. I mean, freaking Lightning McQueen by the end of Cars 2 is basically a big philanthropist. I mean, how is that not enough to earn a legacy a la Doc Hudson? I mean, there's literally nothing about Lightning McQueen that, like, he's not a dick at all. Like, there's nothing in Cars 2 or Cars 3 that implies that he's a dick. Is he a little harsh on Cruz? Sure, yeah, he's a little harsh on Cruz, but I feel like it's in character because, you know, how would you react if your boss was 20 years old and you're going on 30? You know, it's like it's one of those real-world situations that I feel like Pixar is good at capturing and relating to. He is basically Pixar's Mickey Mouse. He's an iconic character, but he never really changes. It's like he's always attached to Andy. He does have an existential arc for sure, but I just feel like he's more of a mascot full-fledged character.
And his existential crises is what fuels these franchises. It fuels the entire franchise. Woody is a more three-dimensional character than Lightning McQueen will ever be throughout his entire franchise. Woody expresses more emotion, more pathos, more humanity than Lightning McQueen does. He actually grows in his own movie, grows in multiple movies, and is actually a front and center, and actually helps others find their place.
I don't know. You know, I think really what this debate comes down to is
and don't talk about that. And let's not forget the ending of Toy Story 3, where he learned one of the most important lessons: learning to let go, which is a lesson that letting people grow up. It's a phrase that it's a lesson that a lot of people need to learn, and it's a lesson that Pixar nailed on the head perfectly. And it's all seen through the eyes of Woody. So long, partner. I mean, basically growing up, saying goodbye, that's a tough lesson. And by that time, that shows like more than anyone, Woody has grown throughout these three movies. Like, he learned to grow up, say goodbye. He himself grew up, like, alongside Andy. He learned to say goodbye. And I think that the fact that it doesn't exactly, he has closure, but the beauty about the closure is that it opens new doors to the future, as we're about to see. Like, there's still stories for Woody. Lightning McQueen, as you mentioned, his story is done.
And I don't necessarily think that's a good argument against Lightning, because I feel like Lightning's story is packed up and neatly, you know, it is complete. It's definitively like a complete package told throughout 3 films.
Your story.
Like Woody's arc is more episodic in nature, and that's kind of the problem I have with it. It's you know,
your story is more style, mine is more substance.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on that, Jacob. That is kind of my argument, is that my arc is a little bit more flashy because it did take a little bit more risks with the character. It did put the character in a more finalized place. It's like kids watching Cars 3, they were put in a position of like, oh my God, like Lightning McQueen is on his last legs and he's going to retire, and he is one of those old cars like the King in the first movie. It's like there's so many full circle parallels that are kind of like haunting in Cars 3. And like Woody just explores the same territory over and over, the same existential, like, what are we going to do when we're let go? You know, like, how are we going to handle being abandoned? It's like, to me, it's the same thing. To me, it's just kind of like literally, go ahead.
that part was only present in Toy Story 3, basically. So it's not even a prevalent throughout the entire franchise. It's something that they learned to cope with in the third movie.
What are you talking about? It's totally prevalent in Toy Story 2 because the whole point of Toy Story 2 is it starts out with the garage sale, and the garage sale is the whole reason why Toy Story 2 gets started. Those are the stakes of Toy Story 2. It's getting separated.
Yeah, but Woody goes through the arc in that movie. Maybe it's good to be like basically the fame goes to his head in that movie, and basically learns that fame isn't all it's cracked up to be. It's like he has though the arcs may be similar, their story elements and beats are entirely different. They're not the same as you claim them to be.
I'm not saying they're exactly the same. I'm just saying that they have a very...
All right.
Okay.
I've heard enough.
Okay.
Good boy. You guys definitely need to learn. Intense round. Excellent picks. But I got to take both of you to the woodshed here, guys. Got to grab it by the ear and take you to the woodshed on this one. All right. Oh, so before I take you guys to the woodshed, let me shout out some comments here. We have Donovan Martin, and we have I believe Sandy Claus joining us. One of his various.
Why isn't he actually in the video? I wish he would just come and join us in the video.
Well, I don't know if he's still with. I don't know if he just dropped by.
I don't think it came from the '90s as Sandy.
I have evidence that it's. I'm pretty sure it's Sandy, but okay, I'll entertain you, Jake. Let's say point being, it came from the '90s. Hello.
I mean, I thought it was one of his friends or something.
Oh well, look, whoever it doesn't. Okay, fine. It came from the '90s. Welcome. Says hey, howdy, hey boys. Hey, howdy, hey, right back to you. Okay. So Don Martin is joining us. Welcome, Don Martin. He makes some. He's kind of shouting out some car stuff, which I'll share after I kind of evaluate certain stuff here. All right. Okay. Okay. Jacob, I feel your opening was excellent. Okay, your opening was excellent. All right. But Jacob, I really need you dragged your feet all throughout this round during the fighting portion. All right. You let Tiki go on too long. And I mean, the biggest thing I need to hear from you, Jacob, is why. I need the why. I need the examples, which you made, but it took you way too long to start citing examples and getting to the nitty-gritty. You're sharing what the endpoints are, but again, it's all about the arc. I mean, I need to know what gets them from point A to point B, and your scrap points, Jacob. You are making points, but you're scratching the surface of it. All right. So just you gotta give me more than what you're giving me. At the very least, not until Tiki really prods you. Now, on the flip side of this, Tiki, you're not out of the woods either, little mister. Okay, Tiki. God. You're getting way too cocky this round, buddy boy. All right, you're opening yourself up. You're showing him your hand. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. I'm just saying I think you're tallying it off a little too much, and you're opening yourself up way too much throughout this round because you're basically you're pointing out flaws before you need to. I'm not saying I know you're trying to work this under strategy. I'm just saying
a defense mechanism, Dragon. It's a defense mechanism.
All right, look, I'm
warning out the flaws before they get a chance to.
I'm just giving you a heads up on. All right, I'll just be made aware that again you are really you're having a lot of blind spots here, and again it may get you through a lot of this, but again it could knock you on your butt too. Okay, I'm just going to give that warning. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so guys, here's what I'm coming down on. Again, I want you both to take those warnings to heart here. I have to rule with Tiki. I have to. All right, Tiki gets the point because Jacob, you're really not giving me enough to work with. As you mentioned, Woody, rich character, a lot of potentially a superior character to Lightning McQueen, but Tiki's giving me all the substance I need with Lightning McQueen, where I'm not getting anything from you on that. So I have to rule in Lightning McQueen's favor, where Woody may very well be the more complex arc, but again, Tiki's he's like extending his chin to you on a few of these rounds, and you're doubling back on the Cars 2 point, where he's already accounted for it. So Jacob, basically, I think you're playing defense against Cars a little bit more than you should have been talking about. So let me rephrase that. You should have been bolstering your own guy up while you're basically just trying to keep up with the car stuff. I think Tiki got you. Tiki conned you during the round. I'm sorry to tell you, Tiki conned you during the round. You played into a strategy. So I mean, Tiki again, strategy worked in your favor, but be made aware of it. Okay, don't get too cocky. I'm going to warn you that.
All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And they can only. I'm just I can't tell you what to do.
There's no one way to play this game, Dragon.
I know that's the thing. I can't look again. I'm not faulting you for it. I'm just giving you the warning. Jacob really could have taken down any of those points.
I know.
All right, let me read some stuff from Donovan here. Donovan saying, love Cars 3 so much. Doc Cousins' presence was all over 3. Tackled the retirement, which is very risky. It's why I loved it. Basically sounds simpatico with a lot of your points, Sticky. And you learned that Doc told him the racing is a reward, not the trophies. All right. Good fighting spirit, though, guys. Good fighting spirit. You guys are in the zone, but again, you got to think a little bit more. You got to pay attention to where your opponent's going. That's all, on both sides. Okay. Round 2. In the tradition of famous Pixar duos, which it seems we're going to be continuing with Toy Story 4, who is the most perfect Pixar pair? This can be a buddy duo, it can be a sibling relationship, can be a couple. Just limit 2 being the operative word. Count them 1, count them 2. It's got to be pairs. It's purely paired here. Okay. Who has what?
I have Hector and Miguel from Coco.
And I have Joy and Sadness from Inside Out.
Joy and Sadness. And also, just in case Dom is joining us late, I want to remind him that we've added a second mystery coin into the proceedings tonight, Don. We're trying something out here, which means I randomized it off screen, and they'll have another optional chance, like flip a coin, which could either give them a point or lose them a point after said round in which it was enacted, and it could be either at round 1, 2, 3, and speed round 1 and 2. So basically, out of those 5 rounds, we've kind of mixed and matched them and kind of hidden the coin in the ham piggy bank of one of those. And
obviously wasn't round 1.
Exactly. It's not round 1. So, but again, like these next 4 rounds, it could be in one of those to give them like an extra boost. And
it's definitely in the back of my mind as we play this, and I'm kind of loving that.
Right.
Ever the looming threat. Awakening the sleeping dragon.
All right.
Opening statement, Jacob.
All right. Coco presents an interesting dynamic in the form of Hector and Miguel. Throughout the story, we see these two interact, and throughout the story, they both figuratively and literally make beautiful music together. Throughout the story, Miguel learns the importance of basically in his journey to get back home, sees the importance of everything. Basically, what these two do is they go on an incredible journey through the land of the dead. Basically making music and making their friend, Sorry, I was choking on some water. The story, basically, what they tell is like one of the most human and dynamic duos that Pixar has ever created. The story is pretty much about them, about their journey, and the revelations that they come across. Basically uncovering a conspiracy involving Hector, and finding Miguel's true family. The dynamic between these two is borderline flawless. I mean, they're basically right from their introduction, you can tell they're going to be an interesting pair. Their relationships are tested, and basically throughout the entire movie, you see them grow closer and closer, basically until it's revealed that they are in fact that Hector and Miguel are in fact family. In fact, and the missing relative that left a long time ago. Miguel helps redeem Hector, and Hector helps Miguel understand the true importance of his family. And basically they all realize that Ernesto de la Cruz, basically they all take him down. Basically, they're the emotional center of this movie, and the movie wouldn't be nearly as good if these two didn't have such a great dynamic. It's truly what makes this movie one of the best that Pixar's ever made.
All right. Well, thank you for the plot summary summary there, Jacob. Let me get into some themes and ideas. So I love Inside Out. I love Coco too, Jacob. I'm sorry, that was a low blow. I apologize for that. But it just kind of illustrates.
Saving all the good stuff for the later parts.
Kind of illustrates my point, though, is that I feel like Hector and Miguel is a little bit more of a complicated dynamic. It's a great pair, to be sure. But what I love about Joy and Sadness is that Joy and Sadness is the human condition personified. Mic drop.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, boys, going into this round, I just want to say something quite simple here, just kind of get a little bit of a rousing spirit going here. To quote the battle source, time for battle. Go for fear damage, all that stuff.
Toy Story the Time Forgot is underrated.
So yeah, I just think that in terms of a pair that's instantly relatable, like you look at that character design, the sweater and the glasses on Sadness, the summer skirt and the hair on Joy, the colors, the contrasting colors, it's just like instantly it pops. It's just like, it's so, it's moi. It's just, I'm doing that little chef, like kissing the fingers thing. It's just,
Gusto would be proud.
I love Hector and I love Miguel, and I think they do have a very interesting dynamic with each other.
And you don't get much more contrasting than Living and Dead.
No, you're right. It is a good contrast. I just think that there's a lot of background that you really have to get into, because Jacob, you kind of made my point for me with your opening statement. My opening statement was just it was literally one sentence. Your opening statement was a summary of the movie. You need a summary of the movie to understand these guys' dynamic. Does that make it a bad movie? Hell no. Coco was awesome. Coco is literally my favorite Pixar movie. But I feel like when we're talking about the perfect Pixar pair, again, I'm using a similar argument with Coco that I'm using to Toy Story 3, where I don't necessarily think the individual dynamics of Coco are what make Coco or what make Coco what it is. I think what makes Coco what it is the fact that it's a flowing family tree. There's all these different weaving webs of dynamics. You have Hector and Ernesto. You have Miguel and Ernesto. You have Hector and Amelia. You have Miguel and Amelia.
The main focus here, though, is Miguel and Hector. And as I said,
it is. They are technically the main pair of the movie,
and that doesn't.
The main thematic pool of the movie is like all these different interweaving relationships, both living and dead. That's literally the centerpiece of the movie. There, Inside Out, the centerpiece of the movie is how Joy and Sadness connect and have to live in harmony with each other in order for you to move forward and be a stronger human being. Literally, these characters embody the big message and impact of the movie. That there's absolutely no way that you can strike that down and and have it kind of have less meaning than that. Like I said, I love Coco as a movie. Go ahead.
The thing about your movie, though, is like they only become a perfect pair near the end of the movie. Throughout the entire time, Joy is pretty much completely ignorant and basically antagonistic towards Sadness. They're not a pair. They're not even a pair at all. And the only reason they go off on their adventures because Joy trying to hog the spotlight. They're not a duo until they come together at the very end.
Okay, but I would make the argument that Hector and Miguel don't get together until Act 2. So, and technically they are together for all of Act 2, and they do share screen time in Act 1. So they have a lot more to do with each other. They're way more connected than Hector and Miguel are in terms of just scenes together. I don't think that argument holds much water. Because, like I said, Hector is pretty much entirely absent from Act 1 of Coco altogether.
The main point was that like I said, they don't act. I mean, just as Joy and Sadness share scenes. They're not a duo though until basically the point where they come together at the very
They're
end
an
of
odd couple, Jacob. They're an odd couple. That could totally be a duo.
They're not. Yes, then basically they kind of are an odd couple, but they're not a duo per se. Basically, Joy's taking charge while Sadness just trugs along. They're not exactly. It's not exactly a duo.
Jacob, I really
Not how the relationship is give and take. This is basically Joy taking and taking and taking.
yeah, but you could say technically, if you want to make this argument, my friend, you could say the same thing about Hector and Miguel. I mean, Hector through the first part of the movie is really just using Miguel.
At least he's more upfront about it, though. I mean, like he's not trying to hide the fact that he's more unscrupulous. Like Joyce is basically hiding, like, oh, I'm the most important, so who cares what you think?
Okay, you guys want to talk about arcs? Like I honestly think that Joy has the greatest arc of any Pixar character ever. All right, that's how big of Joy is supposed to be over the top and obnoxious. She represents the little kid that Riley has to transition out of. That's the point. That's the point of the movie, is that as Riley gets older, things are going to get a little bit more bittersweet, especially as circumstances change and environments change. And that coexistence is what the movie strives for. And my God, I don't have to tell you how powerful that Joy meeting Sadness moment is. Also, I love the fact that in the score, Joy is represented by a flute, Sadness is represented by a trombone, and they duel off of each other and bounce off of each other in beautiful ways harmoniously throughout that entire 60 minutes. Woo! Games.
The thing is, though, this is definitely more Joy's story, though. I mean, that's the thing. As you said, it's more Joy. It's like you're placing more emphasis on Joy. It's supposed to be a duo. They are not a duo. Miguel and Hector, their plots connect with each other. They move each other forward. And they even make literal music.
The whole point of Joy is to learn to accept sadness. I mean, I think you're really nitpicking the whole. You're saying that they are not a duo, even though they share a ton of screen time together. I'm not really getting your arguments here.
As in, this is perfect Pixar duo. Like I said, basically, it's just one side doing majority of everything. It's not a duo. Just because they share screen time doesn't make someone a duo.
I really think this argument is insane. I really do, because they go on this whole journey together. It's like the plots of these movies virtually mirror each other. They go on a big adventure together throughout the movie. Joy sees the impact that sadness is having on different parts of Riley, like Bing Bong, for example. That's a big moment where Joy learns to accept sadness. I mean, there's big kind of milestones along the way that we get to this big acceptance moment. I mean, it's subtle, but it's there. It's it's not supposed to be all up in your face about hey, look how it's not supposed to be. What I like about the arc is that it's as marketable as something like Woody and Buzz or Lightning and Mater, but it's not as in your face about it, where it's hey, one of them's the comic relief and one of them's the main character straight man. And I like that. I like that both joy and sadness have straight qualities to them, and they have comic relief qualities to them. They are very complex, just like the emotions they represent are complex.
The thing is with Hector and Miguel, though, their story, they talk about if you're going to bring marketability, it's their marketability really doesn't matter in terms of being a perfect.
The only thing that Coco is marketable for is Day of the Dead Freaks. I'm sorry, I love Coco, but
I'm not trying to bring marketing into this, so drop the whole marketing thing.
The only thing that Ratatouille markets to is foodies like myself.
I'm not trying to do the marketing thing, so.
All right.
Let's talk about the perfect pair. A pair that complements each other very well. Hector and Miguel, their story it moves the plot forward. Okay, let me. Basically, the entire plot of it, I think, is more well thought out and even like maybe not necessarily as complex, but I think just as emotionally resonant as in, if not more so than Inside Out.
Okay,
Coco moved me to tears more than Inside Out did. I'll come out and straight up and say that Coco moved me to tears more
I
than.
don't necessarily think that means that the arc is better. I mean,
I'm not done yet, Tiki.
Okay,
Let him finish. Let him finish. Go on.
The entire basically yes. I'm probably not as complex, but I think it's just as beautiful, emotionally resonant, and they complement each other just as well, if not more, than Joy and Sadness does. The art, the moment, specifically the moment where Hector shows where Miguel shows Hector the photo of Coco, and they realize that's a very powerful scene. Remember me and everything like that. Tell me that scene's not as pretty much as powerful as any scene from Inside Out. And that's basically those two arcs basically coming together and complementing each other flawlessly.
all right, but my argument though is that I feel like Coco is a movie that relies way more on kind of like complex world building and interweaving characters, and we've got this whole family tree that we've set up. Whereas Inside Out, the whole point of Inside Out is how emotions play off of each other, and joy and sadness are the big ones. You know, they are the two that go on the adventure. They are the two that are at the forefront. They are the two that need to come together to form the synergy that's going to drive Riley forward and make her a stronger person. And that, to me, is a lot more powerful on a human level, on a relatable level. I mean, Coco is almost like it's an epic, you know what I mean? It's like
I honestly believe that Coco is just as humanly resonant as Inside Out is. I mean, despite having literal emotions as its characters, the world building is there, and it's definitely subtle. But I think they can, as you said, the family tree. I mean, yes, that's important, but like I said,
more of Inside Out hinges on
how the individual
kind of boils down to
how the individual pairs affect each movie. And I think as far as Hector and Miguel go, I think they have a very great impact on and not just themselves, but just a whole wide range of characters. As you said, there's a lot of characters, and these two characters,
so many other characters that have other impacts on the story. Though
they change so many characters of this movie. Basically together they change a lot of things and learn. They both go through two very, very emotional and impactful journeys with each other.
I mean, they're separated for like half the goddamn movie too. It's like I said, Hector's not in Act 1 at all. They get separated like at least 2 or 3 times. It's like if you're bitching about joy and sadness,
it doesn't change their dynamic. It doesn't change their dynamic.
I really think that Hector and Miguel are just on their own 2 strong standalone characters. That, I mean, yeah, they are a duo. I will admit that. I would, if I didn't think they were a duo, I wouldn't have agreed to do this, of course. But I just think that Inside Out is just defined way more by the dynamic between the 2 of them. All right, Dragon, I think we're kind of going in circles here. And look, Jacob. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Wow. Neither of us let up on that one.
And some of those things hurt to say.
Of course, I think we can both admit Inside Out and Coco, excellent movies.
Oh, easily 2 of my favorite Pixar movies, like without question.
And of course, excellent pairings with these 2.
Yeah.
These 4 characters.
I mean, it's hard to say bad things about either of these movies.
Well, you guys notice like a running strategy of mine is being like, yeah, this movie's good, but it's good in other ways. So, anyways.
All right, okay, guys. Well, we're gonna here. Let's see. Starting with Jacob. All right. So, I did notice you were stumbling a little bit in the opening statement there, Jacob. You didn't take anything away from it. So you just kind of took some time to find yourself, and I think it may have cost you some wind during the main argument. So we'll just kind of word of warning there. But during the main argument, Again, Jacob, you got to give me the why a lot sooner. You did get into the why, though. So, again, you did actually give me some good why in this fight. But basically, the main point that stuck out to me that Jacob was making was in the fact, the convergence point. Well, that was what I was looking for the whole fight. I was just pointing out that, with the Remember Me, when we have the big, Mama Coco reveal, when we reveal, the two of Mac, and of course, how it impacts the other characters within the movie. And basically, Jacob not letting up on the whole, the fact that, even though they may not be kind of throughout the whole act of the movie, again, just kind of basically staking the claim of them as a duo. But again, that said, transitioning to Tiki here, again, for both of you, again, I think you guys were focusing on the wrong parts, practically trying to disqualify Joy and Sadness as a duo. I think that's the wrong tack to take, guys.
Really, we're going this route with it? All right.
Basically, let me make. I think I know what Jacob's going to think about it right now. Because here's the thing. Look, Jacob, I think I see the point you were trying to make. I think you made it very clunkily, which kind of led to an unneeded argument. All right, because I think the point Jacob was trying to make was again, he's trying to argue it like a perfect. He's already trying to argue the perfection of the pair in that again. It's like even though they don't share all scenes together, again, it's still like a valid pair, and vice versa. Joy and Sadness again. It's like he's basically trying to argue like the skewed dynamic of the pair, which Tiki would kind of like argue with the odd couple effect. Of course, definitely is absolutely valid kind of point for the point being is I think we just kind of like we spun our wheels a little bit on that one more than we should have. So again, little. Jacob, what I'm saying is like again, you want to make your point a little bit more clear on that one. If you're really gonna dig, I think you dug your heels in at the wrong time. Like it's like he just jumped out of the way, and you're kind of clinging onto his ankle if it were. Let's see. I'm just trying to come up with the ruling here because you guys are kind of on, for the most part, you're on even footing. But again, that really that's really muddies the water of this argument here. That whole semantical beauty argument. It did get Jacob to a really good place with his though. Now, just give me a second here, guys. Just trying to deliberate here.
Is there anyone in the comments that can potentially?
Oh yes, I can. I mean, let me see. Donovan. I know where Donovan's leaning towards here. I still want to, Donovan. If you're still in the comments, I'll take a ruling here. Now you've heard everything. So if you have anything within the next minute or so, by all means, we'll count that as the official vote here. But if I don't get it by then, I'm just going with what I'm feeling in my gut here. We're going to give it a minute here, and of course, by all means, this might cancel out itself depending on if that coin's in this round or not.
Dragon, I would like to know what you thought of my mic drop strategy.
I think the mic drop strategy. I think it was a bold idea. I wish your statement had just a smidge more substance to it. I think it was a good strategy, but maybe not the most mic drop. I think it's a little too quick for your mic drop. Just like
okay, noted.
Not a bad strategy. Just I think it hopefully was a little better figured out in the future. I think that might help you. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna call in a few seconds here. A few, and I don't know, give it a little while. Brief spell here. I'm just looking over stuff here. Let me do some plugs in the meantime. I'm just gonna factor this out here. Certain thing is happening Wednesday, Tiki. Why don't you plug it?
Yeah, that's right, folks. Wednesday, we're doing a trailer reaction to Harley Quinn and the Joker versus the Real World, episode 6. That's right, folks. I didn't say 5. I said 6. We are actually seeing footage from episode 6. God knows if it's going to be 30 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever, but we are going to be there live. Basically, the trailer is going to debut at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon Pacific Standard Time, and a half hour after the trailer debuts at about 12:30 p.m. my time, 3:30 p.m. Dragon's time, we're going to go live. We're going to do a freaking shot by shot, just like Dragon. I would even wager to say a frame by frame on this one.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Okay, it doesn't look like we're going to get a ruling from Donovan here. I'll share what Donovan's leanings were after I give the ruling here, but I can't quite just kind of give it on leanings alone. I have to get quite like a name here to really kind of give it a ruling by. So It's close, guys, but at the end of the day, in terms of like what the question is, most perfect Pixar pairs and which one was the most kind of well constructed argument for which pair was like comparatively more perfect than the other one. I have to give it to Tiki again here by a smaller margin than the first one, though, by a much smaller margin. But I give the next point to Tiki, and I know you guys are wondering where that coin is, and you're still gonna have to keep wondering.
Keep laying up the suspense, though, Dragon. You're good at it.
Yeah.
Okay, right. That brings us to round number.
Oh, this is the fun one. Oh God.
Okay, actually, hold on a second. Let me let it land. I'll just let me read off what Donovan's leanings were here. So Donovan was leaning towards the Coco side of things here. Says Coco and then Hector by far, without a doubt. In reference to the movie and the whole Hector, Hector Miguel arc. Anyway, the Hector Miguel pairing. Miguel and Hector are actually more complex with. Actually discovering that they're true family, and he was really kind of jumping to Jacob's defense during the fight here. He says, it doesn't matter how many scenes, but it's what takes place in those scenes at first that counts. So I mean, look, as valid as those points are, again, what it boiled down to, folks, again, by a slimmer margin, was again, I really could use more examples of like I'm not saying you had to bring this up. I'm just trying to give like an example of like I need to know like why their dynamic was special. Like, what did they do until we got to that convergence point? Where again, that's good. And basically, what Donovan's bringing up here, that's good. Like Jacob brought up like they made music together. Like I would have liked maybe a little bit of focus on like the musical thing, how specifically they made each other better. Like what was funny about the pairing. That sort of like more details. But anyway, so by slim margin though, slim margin. Had good stuff in there. Okay, round 3.
Dragon, why one playing this before we get into the randomizer?
All right, folks. So in honor of Toy Story 4, round 3 is what is the best June Pixar release? So what we've done here, folks, is that I'm not. Of course, Toy Story 4 is coming out in June. As basically Pixar has a kind of a track record of usually going in November or going in June. I mean, sometimes you have a few in between, like a few May releases, but most typically you got a November, you got a June.
Well, the ones in May are pretty much like 3 days before June anyway.
The point being, they love Pixar loves their summer is defined by June, and their kind of firm November is November.
And sometimes there's 2 a year where they do both.
Dragon, yes, could say in case Monkey's watching, he'll be the only one who gets this. One could say Pixar is switching their major to June.
Right.
All right.
To paraphrase Captain America, I'll pretend I understood that reference.
Anyway, so the point being, so folks, again, I'm not just doing the easy route and leaving this one open from the pick just of all the June Pixar releases. No, we're gonna leave it to not Lady Luxo, because that's the coin that may or may not be in this. It's not Lady Luxo, because that may or may not be in this.
We're gonna get that sound clip of Dragon, just the no.
No, we should make a soundboard of all of our random voices.
Oh, we totally should, but I'm sorry, Dragon, go.
Anyway, so yeah, we're not leaving it to Lady Luxo, because again, I'm not going to confirm nor deny if the coin is in this round or not. But anyway, so what we're actually doing, we're leaving it up to the randomizer here, folks. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 2 cycles of the randomizer here. One to see which pick Jacob gets. Basically, we've listed out all the June releases. I'm going to read down the list just now. Okay, we have them in chronological order, I believe. Correct, Tiki? They're in chronological.
Yeah, these are chronological order.
The order in which they've come out, and here's what we're working with here. We have Cars, Ratatouille, Wall-E, Toy Story 3, Cars 2, Brave, Monsters University, Inside Out, Finding Dory, Cars 3, and Incredibles 2. Obviously, we're not putting Toy Story 4 on there because none of us have seen it yet. Okay.
Dang it.
Okay, so we're going to cycle through this twice here. Okay, so one, we're going to see what Jacob. We're going to spin it. We're going to randomize it for Jacob, and of course the top of the list, whenever that randomizee is, that's what Jacob gets. We're going to do it again for Tiki.
What if we end up with the same one? Like last time when we did this with the Marvel one.
Sure. Well, if by some chance you get the same one, okay, I'll leave it. Okay, tell you what, I'm going to leave it up to the person if they want to randomize again or go with or go with the descending one, the second one that is not just the same one that has been picked. Or I'll leave it to them. That's like the only wiggle room I'm going to give you guys on the randomizer. Okay.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Only wiggle room because you get what you get. All right. That's the only slight wiggle room you get.
Okay. All right, Jacob, you ready to get Cars 2?
I can make arguments for Cars 2.
I like to imagine, of course,
Cars
many
2
people
is
would
actually
say.
like in my top 5 of ones I want.
I mean, it's not. That's probably like the worst of them, but even I can make decent arguments for it.
Oh, you motherfucker.
I got the first Cars.
Oh God.
All right,
Oh,
so Jacob,
feeling about this.
I think I could work with this.
You guys want to know my tiers?
I'm sorry, what?
My tiers, like what I really want and what I really don't want.
Well, let us find out after.
Let's just see what you get, and then we'll reveal what you would have. Again, it's your call because that opens up your strategy a little bit there. That's the thing. So it's your call.
Oh yeah, okay.
Randomize it. So randomize it again.
It's been that random wheel of craziness again. All right, Tiki has Cars 2. So the question is, out of these June releases, which is the better Pixar film? Best.
This is definitely a weird coincidence.
You've got to be fucking kidding me.
So, Tiki, what were your tiers?
All right, well, fuck.
You don't have to reveal it.
No, I wanted Cars 2, but like against something like Finding Dory or Monsters U or something like that. Like Finding Dory and Monsters U were the ones I really didn't want because those were the sequels that were straight up unnecessary. So those were like my bottom tier. I mean, obviously when you're talking top tier, you're talking like WALL-E, Toy Story 3, Ratatouille, Inside Out. Those are probably the top tier. Cars.
And then there's Brave.
And another good one. Like I fucking wish I would have gotten Cars 3 instead of Cars 2. Oh man, I'm screwed.
Well, not necessarily.
I could easily fuck up too.
And again, you could get kind of some relief this round.
The coin.
Yeah, so keep that in mind.
All right, Jacob, go ahead and start with your opening statement.
All right, this would definitely be interesting. Maybe not my opening argument, but the overall discussion should be interesting.
I am so fucked.
All right. Keep it short and simple. Cars is basically a perfect summer movie. It's fast, it's fun, basically all you could want out of, and it's very tightly told and beautifully animated as you'd come to expect from Pixar. It's a perfect movie to just sit back and watch on a summer's day. And basically the story, and it's a fast, fun, breezy story that's easily fun. That's very fun, watchable, and has a lot of interest and basically full of wild, fun characters, a tight story, basically, and an all-rounded, lovable, and well thought out story. And basically deeper than people expected a movie called Cars to be. Cars has quite a few surprises under its hood, basically makes for the perfect summer viewing.
All right, you keep talking about this breezy pace, but honestly, I really think you could apply that more to Cars 2 than to the original Cars. The original Cars is slow, man. Like, the original Cars is straight 2 hours long. Cars 2 is a solid in and out 80 minutes. It's like 85 minutes or something like that. And I don't take that to its detriment. I feel like Cars 2 is the perfect summer blockbuster. John Lasseter wanted to make an action thriller spy movie. He made an action thriller spy movie. I mean, people underlook the fact that Cars 2 is the most full throttle, high octane action movie in the Pixar canon. That's not an Incredibles movie, but still, that's a pretty high bar to reach. I love a lot of stuff about Cars 2. I genuinely do. I think that all the different locales really expand out the Cars universe. You know, like we see Japan, we see Italy, we see, I believe we go to Monte Carlo or something like that. You know, like
That's true.
What?
That's true. We do go to Monte Carlo, yeah.
Monte Carlo, yeah. You know, it is a globe-trotting adventure, and frankly, with Cars, I don't necessarily think that's the most rewatchable movie because a lot of it is just kind of Larry the Cable Guy. Well, I know a lot of Cars 2 is Larry the Cable Guy too, so I won't get into that. But
Sorry.
But a lot of the original Cars is just like Lightning McQueen kind of being a dick and just sort of being like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just gonna get out of, you know, he's trying to bail out of the small town. We see him pushing that stupid concrete thing way too many times in the movie. It gets very repetitive. The whole second act of the movie is very slow. Like basically everything from the point where Lightning arrives in Radiator Springs to the point where him and Sally go on the Sunday drive is just like a lot of setup and a lot of just kind of dragging your pace. And yeah, I get it. It's for the whole message of the movie of kind of kicking back and not letting life pass you by. But I feel like Cars 2 is the perfect summer high-octane, like, oh my god, action movie. It's basically the Mission Impossible of the Pixar canon. It's so crazy. It's got like brutal car deaths right at the beginning. It's got like car submarines. It's got like evil cars wearing monocles. I mean, Cars 2 is just so outlandish and batshit crazy that I kind of admire it. And people give so much shit to Cars 2. You know what Cars 2 is? It's an interesting train wreck. You know what Cars 1 is? It's a mediocre movie. I would take the interesting train wreck any day of the week. That's just my personal taste, maybe. But I love things that are just like, they're like case studies. They're like, even if Cars 2 isn't the greatest movie, I feel like Cars 2 has a lot more going for it in terms of just being able to sit down and really experience, like, all right, what went wrong with this movie? What went right with this movie? How the hell did this movie get made? How does this movie exist? Whereas you turn on the original Cars and you're just going to be like, all right, this is kind of just a slow paced, like, you know, it's very much a ripoff of Doc Hollywood. It's arguably one of the bigger, like, ripoffs that a Pixar movie has done of a story, just kind of like beat by beat. I know they've taken inspiration from a lot of things, like A Bug's Life and Seven Samurai, for example, but I'm saying like beat by beat, this is pretty much Doc Hollywood. Like I said, Cars 2, say what you will about Cars 2, but it's a lot more batshit dynamic than the original Cars.
All right, guys. To quote something we've discussed recently, it's time to get nuts. Have at it.
I'm honestly really proud that I made my opening statement as long as I did. That was, man.
Well, not necessarily the mic drop you were expecting, were you?
I couldn't do a mic drop in this situation. I really had to actually like explain my point. It's like, all right, like, look, I've got an uphill battle to climb here, guys, but this is why. And I stick by what I said. I think that Cars 2, honestly, if anyone were to sit down and be like, hey, Tiki, you know, like let's say like you're babysitting, for example, in a hypothetical scenario, and the kid wants to watch either Cars or Cars 2. I'll put on Cars 2 over the original Cars because, like I said, A, it's more fast-paced, it's more energetic, it's got a lot of action scenes. I think the humor will entertain the kid more. And B, it's a shorter movie, so we can get on to the next thing, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't know. I really do think that Cars 2 is kind of like a baby boomer movie. And as an old soul, I really appreciate it. And, you know, I appreciate the messages, and the Our Town song is really good. But Cars 2 is just such an interesting case study for me.
You're talking about you said to yourself, the movie's a trend. We're talking about good movies here. You said to yourself, Cars 2 is basically, but let's face it, it's like Pixar's only rotten movie. Like basically the only movie that can be described as probably subjectively bad.
Okay, I would much rather watch Cars 2 over The Good Dinosaur. I think The Good Dinosaur is much more objectively bad than Cars 2. I think Cars 2 has a lot more redeeming elements than The Good Dinosaur does. The Good Dinosaur basically only has good animation, and Cars 2 has good animation and a few other things going for it.
Well, I'm not going to say anything regarding that because I've never actually seen The Good Dinosaur. So, point kind of loses that for me.
Yeah, and exactly. No one's seen The Good Dinosaur. No one gives a shit about The Good Dinosaur. It's a terrible movie. Cars 2 is so better.
But we're talking about, you're talking about how,
I don't know. I just, like I said, I really do think
we're talking about which movie is
Go
better.
ahead.
Like, what is the best movie released in June? And between the two of these, Cars 1 is definitely the better movie. It has more of a let's face it has more of a brain than the second movie does. And breezy doesn't necessarily mean always
think
fast.
that's I think the second movie has a crazy amount of creativity going on, and it's just kind of John Lasseter throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, it's like, say what you will about John Lasseter at this point in time, but this franchise up until Cars 2 was his baby, and this was kind of like the last great Lasseter effort. It was like Lasseter's last gasp in the company. I mean, tell me that's not a fascinating pop culture relic.
That doesn't really mean much to the quality of the movie itself.
Look, I'm taking what I have to work with here. You know what I mean? It's like I do definitely think that the animation in Cars 2 is, generally speaking, a lot more beefed up than Cars 1. I think some of those action sequences and chase sequences.
There's also more than 5 or 6 years of development, so the animation really doesn't really make much of a difference in your argument.
But the action sequences, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more high octane action, and you know, it's a spy narrative. And I honestly think that, I kind of like to revisit Cars 2 because I feel like it's a movie that might tickle my fancy a little bit because I love the world building of the Cars franchise. Cars 2 does have little character moments, like the stopover in Italy where we see Guido and Luigi and their kind of like schoolboy rivalry of romance. I love that little moment. I love these little character beats. And the fact that they're able to take those character beats and still work them in there, but still have Cars 2 be a definitively like way different movie. Like, I honestly think this is going to be controversial. Like, Finding Dory is probably probably objectively better than Cars 2, but I think that Cars 2 is definitely the way more interesting sequel because Finding Dory is essentially a carbon copy. Is it a good carbon copy? Sure, but Cars 2 is not a carbon copy of what the first movie was.
It's just a bad sequel.
I mean, you might call it that. But I feel like there's a lot of people that defend Cars 2. As someone who defends a lot of
my goal here is to tear down Cars 2.
No, I know, and then I don't, I'm not saying like don't do that because obviously this is a debate. So look, I'm saying like I have literally never encountered a single person who defends Home on the Range like I do. All right? Like, Home on the Range is just universally reviled by the Disney fandom. And I like it because, A, it's one of the last 2D hand-drawn animated musicals, at least before the brief revival we got with Princess and the Frog. B, I love the fact that it's a 2D animated Western. That's something that Disney played around with in shorts, like A Cowboy Needs a Horse and Pecos Bill. But we never got in a full-fledged feature until Home on the Range. I kind of dug that legacy there. So my point is that there's a lot more people that defend Cars 2 than Home on the Range. So Cars 2 is like, it's far from the worst Pixar. It's far from the worst Disney movie. It's far from the worst Pixar movie. It doesn't deserve the hate it gets. If anything, it deserves to be more lauded and more respected for the risk it did take. and for elevating the Cars franchise. And you know what? What one thing that Cars 2 did definitively give us? With the money that Cars 2 raked in, we were able to get Cars Land. And Cars Land is, I know this is kind of going a little bit out of the movies here, but hear me out because this is an argument I can legitimately make about Cars 2. Cars Land was literally funded kind of on the money that Cars 2 made. It was kind of like a package deal. Like we had to make Cars 2 to drive the awareness up for Cars Land.
Right.
And Cars Land is going to be the... Hear me out. Cars Land is going to be the thing that outlives everything else when it comes to the Cars franchise. It really is like Splash Mountain or Pandora. The theme park representation is going to outlive everything else. Like people 20 years from now are going to barely remember any of the Cars movies, but they're always going to remember Cars Land, and that stemmed from Cars 2. That was built on Cars 2's back.
Again, that doesn't talk about the quality of the movie itself.
But the movie left an even bigger footprint on Pixar, for better or for worse, than the first movie did. Because I do feel like by illustrating that Pixar didn't make a perfect movie, it also kind of had this chain effect. And I don't know, like I said, I can't necessarily argue that Cars 2 is not, it's definitely got its problems, but I do think as a case study, that's where my argument is coming from. Jacob, literally your only argument is like, oh, it's a bad movie. But it's like, my argument is that I feel like Cars 2 is just a really fascinating movie. It's a movie that
stop
problems with it.
If you're talking about technically Pixar's first kind of misstep from the general acclaim they got, it was technically the first Cars. And you're talking about the little moments that made Cars 2. Basically, a lot of the middle act of first Cars is these little interesting character studies, and basically his interactions with these characters. That's what, pardon the pun, drives part of this movie forward, and it's what endears us to the characters and Lightning McQueen himself. And you don't have that with Mater, where basically he's just this stupid idiot he gets mixed in with an international spy caper.
But you have Finn McMissile, and you have the great Mike Cocaine, and how can you argue with Mike Cocaine, Jacob?
Are you intentionally trying to say Mike Cocaine, or doing?
Yes, I am intentionally trying to say Mike Cocaine. I'm very blatantly saying Mike Cocaine right now.
Basically, for believing that Mater could be a capable spy, Finn turns out to be pretty much just as stupid as Mater. In that case, it's like this entire movie is.
And the whole movie is like a Monty Python-esque take on the spy genre, and that's kind of makes it awesome. It's like it's totally absurdist. It's totally absurdist.
A world of Cars in general is absurdist. I mean, basically,
a world of Cars is absurdist, and in the original Cars movie, you do the fucking most boring thing possible with it. At least in Cars 2, the characters actually race. Except for, Cars 1, I know they race in the beginning and the end, but Cars 2, they're racing throughout the movie. It feels much more like what I want a Cars movie to be.
The point of the movie isn't racing. It's a character study.
The point of a Cars movie should be racing.
Basically, it's about a race car. And don't give it the race.
It should be racing. It should be action. Cars should be the Fast and the Furious of the Pixar canon, and it's not. Cars 2 is the Fast and the Furious of the Pixar canon, and that makes it awesome.
It's more mature. The first Cars is more
Jacob,
mature.
You can't win this, man. Cars 2 is just it's such a good movie. All right, I'm going a little over the top here. I'm sorry, I'll tone it down.
Yeah, you didn't even let me speak there.
All right, Jacob, go ahead.
The point of the first Cars wasn't just to show off the mad racing skills, which obviously it does in the beginning and the end. I mean, and the final race, it's very exciting, especially and not just in flashy ways, but basically when Lightning pushes the King over the finish line, that itself is a different kind of excitement. And you hear that, basically, and you say, really, you're calling Lightning McQueen a dick when basically your first point in the first argument was him not being a dick. You're kind of contradicting yourself here. I mean, I'm not going to hold.
No. Okay, if we're going to talk about.
Okay. Look. Okay, hold it. Okay, no using the previous argument.
Okay, I know. I was just a minor anecdote, but I'm not going to use that for my argument.
And I'm saying part of my arc argument was the fact that Lightning McQueen was a dick in the first movie and comes around to definitively not be a dick by the end of the series.
Hyperbole, but the point is, like, the point of the movie, as you said, is laying back, and there's nothing. Part of summer is, in fact, laying back and just kicking back, having a good time, interacting with these people, interacting with different people, having friends, and having fun. And that's exactly it. And that's what Cars is. It's like basically about appreciation of
explosions and guns and action and high octane chases and racing and exotic locations and anthropomorphic car women.
I prefer my cars. I prefer my cars with a brain, smart cars, if you will.
I prefer my car to be as batshit as possible because it's a mediocre as fuck franchise to begin with. So if I'm gonna sit down and watch a Cars movie, I want it to be the really fucking fun, interesting one.
And I wanted. I mean, who is to say the first one isn't interesting? There's a lot of things in the movie in the first one that can be interesting. Like
I'm saying Cars 2 is interesting. Like I said, my whole argument, the only thing I really can tip my hat is Cars 2 is a fascinating piece of pop culture. It's a fascinating pop culture relic, if anything. Cars 1 is just kind of like the first mediocre Pixar movie. Cars 2 was the first, like, you know, again, I can't say too much because you'll twist it, but it's in spite of people not liking Cars 2, I always have liked Cars 2. Go back on record. I am not saying this out of hyperbole. I mean, of course, I'm sort of adding a bit of dramatic flair for the debate, but I truly do believe that I would rather sit through Cars 2 than Cars just because it's, you know, it's a more fast-paced, more slick-looking, probably a more funny movie, honestly.
The first, like, humor wasn't the point of the first movie. It was basically more character drama.
All right, Dragon, I feel like we're kind of going back and forth here again.
And for the record, I actually do like Cars 2 as well.
Well, myself included. So again, you have to say what you have to do. Some ugly things down there in the real world, folks. I hate the break.
I don't hate Cars 2 in the slightest, but
living in the ghetto. The ghetto.
What the? What?
It's the whole Foley Park song.
Anyway, like I was saying, the point. What was it? I was going to make the point that, again, like, folks, again, in regards to this, you know, like, some nasty things were said about both Cars movies, about two out of the three Cars movies here. A lot of reference to the third one, oddly enough, earlier on. But
right.
Of course, this is really hate this.
From this Pixar debate is that people really like Cars 3.
This was a really charged debate, of course. This is basically the revenge round of the debates because, of course, a lot of things were said about Cars earlier. Came and fueled arguments, I'm sure. But again, as I've said with Cars 2 many a times with Pixar and look, I will fight the biggest guy on the tallest mountain any day of the week to defend any of the Pixar movies, especially Cars 2. Like, even if it's Cars 2. So again, I understand, guys. You have to say some ugly things there.
Don't get me wrong, I defend Cars 2 as well.
Yeah. Again, we're all favorable to the Cars franchise, obviously. Anyway,
as I mentioned, hyperbole.
All right, so looking at what we do have here, though. Okay, let's see. So, guys, you're really on even footing this round. So I think you guys are both at kind of an even pace. This is the most even round you've had the whole night. Okay. This one.
Sorry, go ahead.
It was even round the whole night. Here's the thing. I'm really impressed with Tiki's argument in terms of Tiki. You're both arguing from a perspective here. Jacob's arguing the better movie, and Tiki's arguing the summer movie, which, of course, is part of the question. Best June Pixar release. Now, that's where things get really tricky. That's why I'm having a little trouble deliberating here, basically.
Yeah, I think we lost the whole June argument along the way.
Oh, no. June is in there. Tiki's arguing June. And you brought up June in yours. I mean, again, I think basically the points were found. I think Tiki was kind of arguing that from the get-go with summer blockbuster, but you were arguing towards the end in terms of like kind of a slow, kind of easy-peasy summer movie. So that's where things get a little tricky here. Where I think here's the problem. So Tiki made some barbs against the original Cars movie, which I feel Jacob didn't really. Jacob had great offense, but his defense was lacking. But Tiki, on the other hand, you could smell the desperation coming off of him this round, though. You could.
Can you blame me?
Not really. No.
I have
Again,
any route to go other than that.
I'm saying, look. I'm not saying, look. Look, I won't. Look, I can't weigh on like how I would do it over you because again, that's not fair at all. I'm just saying with what you did. I'm saying you put a lot of energy into the round. So again, it's desperation that came off. I'm not taking points off for desperation.
All right.
But Tiki. At the end of the day, I think Tiki cited more things from the movie. I'm not just going to base it off like who cited more things from their movie though, because again, Jacob used a lot of points that were lobbed at him earlier with in kind of the Lightning McQueen Woody. Kind of face off, but
I guess that wasn't meant to be like an actual argument.
I'm just looking at it here, guys, because yeah, it's really kind of like kind of a photo finish type thing here. I mean, Tiki really lost me towards the end. Was going about the Fast and Furious thing, but Jacob didn't really capitalize on that as much, though.
Basically, like one of us is sticking our tongue out trying to reach the finish line.
Yes. Oh, that's a great one. So basically, sorry guys, it's really hard to deliberate on this one. Donovan, if you're in the comments right now, if you have a ruling for this round, it'd be really helpful because it's Cars versus Cars 2 here. All right, so which
Donovan hasn't made any comments since the Coco one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. It's not looking good on that front there. Okay.
I just say how much I love the poster for Cars 3.
It is a great poster. Anyway, all right.
Sorry.
Okay, look, I'm going to give it to. Based on the argument, based on the question, I think I have an obligation to give it to Tiki. So I mean, again, Jacob, vast improvement though. Again, this round, vast. This is the best. I think it's the best fight you've given all night though. So. However, now, okay, so let's start with.
I pulled out the impossible before we get into anything else. I pulled out the impossible. Cars 2 was the whammy, and I argued. I mean, I would not have been able to do this against Inside Out or even Ratatouille or Wall-E. I just think I would not. Like, I'm actually kind of lucky that I got.
I gotta be honest, Jacob. What might have won it for you again? There's little to no mention of Doc Hudson. At all. I'm not saying it was like a huge liberating factor. I'm just saying, given like that was lobbed against you so much in the other, I'm surprised you didn't use that. You know?
Well, I've tried not to repeat too many points. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all right.
Right.
Like,
okay.
I mean, personally, I would have the 3 I would have liked to get is either Ratatouille, Wall-E, or Inside Out, or even just Toy Story 3. I'd have loved those. Heck, I could even made a good argument for Brave, even though that's like my least favorite Pixar movie.
All right, so before we get into the Luxo coin that we do have at the end of 3 rounds, before we reveal whether or not the coin there's an additional coin this round or not, we have a June-related comment here from Monkey.
Oh, okay.
He says, "I begin to wonder how many Pixar attractions have opened in June. At the very least, you have Cars Land, you have Midway Mania, and the Incredicoaster, and the Nemo subs." Says Monkey.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of also Toy Story Land. No, I think Toy Story Land was the end of May.
Yeah, he says Bruce brought Toy Story Land just now. So
yeah,
you're probably right. I think you're right on that one too, but I don't know 100%. I'll trust you on
Toy
that.
Story Land is the creme de la creme, though.
Of course. All right. Okay, so let's go to the Luxo coin, the one that's the kind of the standard optional function at the end of 3 rounds. So let's see who feels like risking it all.
So that means the hidden coin is in one of the 2 speed rounds.
Well, again, we're going with the 3. We're going to do the 3 round one first, then we're going to reveal whether the coin.
Okay, you tricky bastard! All right.
I don't have any points to wager anyway.
Well, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, so
all right.
I go first.
Luxo be a lady tonight, Jacob, if you want to.
Like I said, but I have to lose. So flip the coin. Dang.
Well, again, Jacob, you might have a second bite at the apple. Let's see what happens. Tiki, you want to flip it?
Flip.
Okay, Tiki's flipping. He's flipping out, and he lost a point. Tiki, it's now 2-0.
All right.
All right, so guys, I'm gonna tell you, I'm looking, and
Not here.
no Luxo coin.
Oh God!
Called.
Oh God! It's coming. Oh, this is awful.
Which brings us to the speed round. And of course, for those just joining us, I'll remind them the reason these two guys are kind of jumping out of their mind right now is because per their idea, they want
No,
to test.
it's awful, but I love it. I love how much more suspenseful it makes everything.
Again, per something new we're trying out here, folks. There is a second kind of coin to flip to gain or lose a point here. There's a second Luxo coin, kind of a ham piggy bank, is kind of hidden in one of the 5 questions, the 3 main rounds and the 2 speed rounds. And there's only one, and we haven't gotten to it within the 3 rounds. So the point being, it's either going to be in the first speed round or the second speed round. So we're going to see which one it is.
All right.
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
I think we could now technically have 3 speedrun questions. I mean, at least 3 now since Tiki only has 2 points.
Well, yeah, but it's still. I think the coin should be hidden in 5 regardless. But anyways,
Again, we're playing the 5 points, guys. All right. Okay, you guys ready for the
Yeah.
speed round?
As I'll ever be.
Speed round is simple. Kind of goes as always here, folks. 30-second statement followed by 15-second rebuttal. Whoever speaks first with what they want, what their pick is, they have to go first. Pretty usual stuff. All right, let's see. Oh boy, so many greats. Again, the speed rounds were a joy to come up with for this one. Great speed rounds. There's the question, because of course there's some that are themed to Toy Story, some that are just kind of Pixar in general. Because you want to get some Toy Story ones in there for Toy Story 4, of course. All right.
I away with bated breath.
Okay, best line in the original Toy Story.
There's a lot of them.
I know. Monkey says it should be called the Dash Round. So we'll adopt that for this.
Can it be a song lyric?
Nah, no song lyric.
Nah.
No.
Okay. You are a sad, strange little man.
Okay.
And you have my
Tiki's got sad, strange little man.
you have my pity.
Yep.
There's a lot of interesting lines in this movie.
Oh yes, there are. Very quotable.
Specific. I'll be specific here. Let me see. Buzz is the line at the line. We're falling with style.
Okay.
Wait, hold a second. I gotta get a double. Give me a second. Here's one to make absolute certain. Okay. This isn't flying. This is falling with style. That's your line, right?
Yep. It's just falling with style. Like specifically the one Buzz says at the end.
Yeah, that's what I guess. So again, the line specifically is this isn't flying. Because the way it goes is Woody. I know you're being specific.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I mean, I couldn't remember the exact semantics.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
You are one sad, strange little man, and you have my pity is, god damn it, one of the most quotable Pixar quotes ever, and that's really what it comes down to in terms of best lines. I feel like Jacob's is definitely a little bit more like, hey, look, they're thematically tying everything together, and oh, isn't that nice? But who cares when you have Tom Hanks delivering that performance, delivering just like the reaction of the century to Woody and his craziness. You are a sad, strange little man. I love the wordplay, and it just rolls off the tongue.
Okay, first of all, that was actually Tim Allen saying that, not Tom Hanks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was like, but actually, yeah, the thematic element is what exactly makes what makes this line so great. Earlier in the movie, Woody said it derogatorily to Buzz, basically to Buzz, but in this case, it's Buzz saying it to Woody in a different kind of tone. Basically, it's symbolizing the fact that they have now grown closer together. Their friendship and their bond is now stronger than ever. Basically, it's also solidifying Buzz's arc.
Jacob, much like Coco, you have to take way too much time to even explain the significance, and it's not even an original line. It's a callback that comes back around that you're citing here. Mine is a very, very quotable standalone line that tons of people in my generation use on a daily basis as an insult.
Your line is a meme at best. My line actually at least mine has strong thematic elements and ties throughout the movie. It's a callback for a reason. It deserves a callback. Like I said, it solidifies Buzz as a character arc and solidifies their friendship and the themes of the movie as a whole.
All right, first of all, two excellent quotes. Of course, two of my favorite quotes. I got to be honest. So again, they are on even footing. They're both really excellent pulls. But okay, I gotta be honest here. Tiki, it really doesn't reflect well in your favor. You got the person who said it wrong. That really. I'm not saying it doesn't take you out, but that doesn't help. I think Jacob was on fire this round though with the meme.
I was more thinking of like the Tom Hanks. You are a toy.
I know. That's the thing. When you said Tom Hanks, my heart sank for like, oh no.
All right, well look, let's just give Jacob the point and call it a day. All
right.
I was waiting to see if you'd like correct it at the end, or if you'd like, or if I should even just wait to bring it up for the 15th.
All right. I fucked up.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so 2-1.
What is it?
Oh.
Guys, you won't believe what I found in the seat cushions here. I found a little ham piggy bank, and inside that piggy bank is the Luxo coin. Another one.
Would be funny. You know what would be funny is if Dragon did that whole bit and he was like, inside the piggy bank is
nothing.
You guys gotta wait until the next round.
Well, okay, you kind of spoiled it, but as I was about to say, oh no, it's a fake. It's a Canadian nickel. No, I'm kidding. It's actually real. Okay, this is from Pixar Canada. Okay. No. It's okay. It's real, guys. I'm messing around.
You're gonna milk this for all it's worth, aren't you?
You're better than Julie Chen, Dragon. But first, all right.
Okay, seriously though, the coin is on the table here. So Jacob, do you want to risk it? Do you want to tie it up? Do you want to benefit? You could tie up with Tiki. Downside, you could be back where you started.
I'll do it.
All right.
Hey. Those coin theorists out there, you're going to see if you're right.
Oh,
and the theorists win.
All right.
Jacob has tied it up. Tiki.
Woohoo!
You don't want to risk it. Okay.
Let's do it. We got a lot to cover. Let's go through it as fast as we can because it's all tied up now. We got 3 questions to win.
All right. Okay, here's one from the folks at from the Just Giggle Discord. I've been saving this one for a while, waiting for a Pixar debate. Okay, it's an interesting one. This is a perspective argument, guys. You're gonna get like 2 perspectives, for or against. Well, sorry, let me rephrase that. Not for you. Basically, before or after. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So was Pixar better before or after the Disney deal / becoming Pixar Disney or Disney Pixar? So was Pixar better before that deal was struck or after?
Before.
I think he's got before.
After.
Jacob's got after. Okay, guys, fire away when you're ready.
There were definitely good movies that came after the Disney acquisition, for sure. I'm not going to lie there. But the thing is, before the Disney acquisition, Pixar was just on such a roll of quality. Every single film was literally its own universe. And no 2 films copied one another. We wouldn't even dream of having a Finding Dory or an Incredibles 2. And say what you will about those movies, but I feel like both of them are kind of like mediocre.
Basically, before the whole acquisition, and even basically, the relationship was tumultuous at best, and a lot of the earlier movies you mentioned actually suffered because of it. And basically after the acquisition, Pixar saw a surge in quality, creativity, and even output. Basically, Pixar became even more on top of their game, releasing string after string of hits.
Up Wally, Ratatouille, fantastic. Monsters University, Brave, Good Dinosaur. Finding Dory, not so much. There's a quality control there that Pixar absolutely lacks that we wouldn't have seen if Disney hadn't acquired them.
And technically, Pixar pretty much remains its own separate entity. And basically, we've also gotten such great hits as Inside Out, Wall-E, Up. We've gotten all kinds of stuff, like even Coco, stuff that probably wouldn't have happened if they hadn't gone by them in the first place either.
All right, very interesting, guys. All right, let me see if we got any comments here, Mike. Sorry, Monkey's just being a wise guy in the comments here, but not to each his own. It's just like, oh, ham, the piggy bank got lost in the seat cushions. Well, way to kill a bit, Monkey, but not fair point. All right, guys. I'm just gonna say who I'm. All right, I'm kind of. Okay, Tiki was really cutthroat this round with it, but I don't know. I think Jacob made the argument that again with Coco and everything going forward, we're just basically the acquisition allowed them to kind of reach for the stratosphere with the doubled the output and everything, and basically just kind of getting some. I'm slightly leaning a little bit more towards Jacob, so I'm gonna give that point to Jacob.
Okay, 3-2.
3-2. All right. Brings us to. All right. You guys want? All right. Okay, I'm just gonna give you I want to make sure I get this in here. So okay. Which is the better Easter egg? A113 or the Pizza Planet truck?
Pizza Planet truck.
A113.
The Pizza Planet truck is a detail that kind of ties all the continuity together. A113 is an Easter egg that sort of like extends outside of Pixar, so it's not even really necessarily a Pixar thing per se. Yeah, Pixar uses it a lot, but the Pizza Planet truck is definitively Pixar. I mean, that thing is like as much Pixar as the Luxa lamp is. It's just like it's in everything, and it really does go a long way towards tying stuff together.
Sure, A113 has been used outside of Pixar, but most people actually more associated with Pixar, and basically not forgetting its significance, where a lot of these people got their starts in studying character animation at CalArts. Basically, it's their way of paying tribute to these people that taught them, and basically, it's their way of honoring them. And then the Pizza Planet truck is basically just a truck that appears in the background of every movie. It's not exactly honoring anything. It's basically all it is fanfic fuel for the Pixar theory, which doesn't even make sense.
Absolutely, the Pizza Planet truck thing was not fanfic fuel for the Pixar theory. It was established long before then. That argument is ludicrous. I just think that A113 is more just kind of like a personal thing, and Pizza Planet is a lot cooler.
The fact that it's a personal touch effect, I think, makes it a better Easter egg. Basically, a Pizza Planet truck says like, "Oh, hey, look at this cool thing." It's basically not as subtle or even as remotely interesting as A113. Like, it's showing these people appreciation and basically animation as an art form.
Okay. You know what? I mean, based on the argument, I'm giving it to Tiki. I think I personally skewed a little bit more towards Jacob, but Tiki gets the point.
Okay.
3-3.
Okay.
Oh boy.
All right. Best scene in A Bug's Life.
Oh fuck. Oh Jesus Christ. Let's say the end scene where we reveal how small the island is.
All right.
That's interesting.
That end moment.
All right. These are the fireworks, right?
I'm saying like that end like perspective moment where we pan around and it's like, oh wow, like we've really been on kind of like just this tree in the middle of a pond the whole time.
Yeah. This is the final confrontation with Hopper.
Okay. Okay, now specifically, okay, so you mean like Flick versus Hopper, that whole.
Flick, and then the ants versus Hopper.
Okay, so you mean basically when the ants just kind of show up to his defense. Okay, so that's specifically that moment.
Basically, where the ants stand up to the grasshoppers.
Gotcha. Okay.
I haven't seen this movie in ages.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, your scene is more just kind of like a scene that we've seen in a million other movies, like the oppressed standing up against the oppressors. It's kind of been really played out. You know what hasn't been played out? Scale, and just getting a sense of scale and getting a sense of the environment. And like as the camera pans out at that last shot, as the great music is blaring and we get all that triumphant, like we see, oh my God, it's such a small island. Like, wow, look at it. It's so small. This whole thing has been taking place.
The reason that makes this so great is that it actually works well with the themes of the movie. Like, basically, Flick found his place among his group, and basically a bunch of people stand. And you're right, it has been done before, but the reason it's been done for and done here is because it's done well. It's a trope that stands to the test of time. Your skill, you basically all your scene amounts to is basically just a fancy camera shot. That's pretty much all it is. Like, it took place on that small island. Like, yes, that's all. That's basically all your scene is.
It puts the movie into perspective. It shows us the scale of the world, and the fact that the world is so small makes the world bigger than we ever thought possible. I think that's a magic trick that Pixar pulled off, especially in their second movie. It's definitely the most Pixar of our two.
Thematically speaking, though, I think my scene definitely holds up. I mean, it's a Pixar movie through and through. I mean, this scene definitely speaks up to it, like the underdog coming through, everything standing up. As I said, yours is just fancy camera trickery. This is like a story element, like everything coming together.
Okay, guys, you had two really good moments. I think, I wish Jacob hit the crowd shot thing. I think that would have balanced things out. But I gotta be honest, I think I got a lot more substance from. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say more substance. Tiki made a very valid argument. You guys had both really good arguments, but I think Jacob was a little bit more guns blazing, kind of shooting against like a camera angle and kind of something that was representative of where the movie was going with standing up against the grasshopper. So I'm going to give that point to Jacob. So it's 4-3 right now. Jacob
Okay.
4, Tiki 3. All right, next question. Okay. Let's see. Okay, do you want a theme park question or just a general Pixar question?
Theme park.
Jacob?
I mean, that'd be kind of a disadvantage. I mean, but I'll go with theme park too.
Theme park it is. Which Toy Story character should get an attraction next? Now, here's who we've gotten so far. We have Buzz, we have Slinky, we have the Army Men, and we have the aliens.
Technically, haven't all of them kind of gotten one through Mania?
Okay, well, let's not. Who should be the star of an attraction?
Oh man,
A lot of characters to pick through.
And could it be any kind of attraction?
Yeah, basically, let's say pre Toy Story 4, though, just for safety's sake.
Well, yeah.
really? Does it have to be Toy Story?
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Midway Mania would probably be where they would go with the Toy Story 4 attractions. Let's just kind of make for simplicity's sake. I mean,
all right.
So which ones have been used already?
Okay, Buzz, Slinky, the Green Army Men, and the aliens. There's been 4 so far.
Oh, Woody.
Okay, Tiki's going Woody.
Where should I go? Where should I do with this?
Also, Jesse has a carousel.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, yes, I didn't know about that. Really? Is that planned or is that there now?
No, that's there.
Really? Oh, man,
yeah.
Cool. Okay, so Jess is off the table, too.
So you went. I mean, I wouldn't even go there considering you just went with Woody.
Right. I'm just saying, just to.
No, it's okay. I'm glad you brought it up, man.
Yeah.
There's not a lot more to choose from in these movies. Let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a good alignment. Rex.
Rex.
Okay, Jacob's got Rex.
I mean, it's really the only one that could make it good anything.
My backup was going to be Barbie.
A Disneyland Barbie ride.
That's what I'm saying, man. Think of the possibilities.
There's also Bullseye if you wanted to go for it. But again, anyways, we have what we have. Okay.
With another Western character.
So Woody opens up Woody's Roundup, and Woody's Roundup is one of the coolest pieces of world building in the Toy Story canon. If you do a Woody attraction, what you have at your disposal is you have an attraction that could potentially be all in black and white. The scenery's in black and white. The animatronics are in black and white. The lighting is in black and white. I love that concept. I've always wanted to explore what a black and white attraction would be like, and Woody would be a perfect fit.
Dang it, that's actually my original idea. I mean, I could easily just give up now. I mean, but I'm not going to.
Wait, that was your idea for Rex?
No, like for Woody, I was literally going to go with Woody.
Oh, well, you went with Rex, so let's hear your idea for Rex.
I'm gonna give my idea for Rex.
Right. He's getting there.
I know. I was just saying. I was going to choose Woody and go with Woody's Roundup. I mean, it kind of writes itself.
It does.
With Rex, there's all kinds of interesting things you could do. You could definitely play with the scale of it. I mean, you can definitely play with the scale of Rex. And Rex is a character that's sadly underexplored in the world of Toy Story, and even in the world of Toy Story. I mean, from a select few scenes here and there, a ride, any kind of ride, like you could easily play it out. Like you could basically he'd play like one interesting thing would like basically be basically exploration of his video game. Damn my stutter.
I feel like any kind of Rex attraction would be too large scale to justify such a niche character, and that's the problem you run into with Rex. Woody's Roundup and Woody himself is an iconic part of the Toy Story franchise, and Jacob himself put it writes itself.
I walked into that one. Although think about it though, I think Rex trying to play his Buzz Lightyear game, and heck, even kind of touched upon in the new Kingdom Hearts game. I think that could actually make quite an interesting attraction. Like it could almost be like a Back to the Future or even a Jurassic Park style ride featuring Rex, like Rex at the controls, basically chaotic.
Guys, I gotta tell you, I want to go on both of these. I just want to make that clear. These both sound amazing.
I really want a Jurassic Park the ride parody with Rex and Trixie, and like build out that whole toy line of dinosaurs. I really want that.
Look, guys, you both have excellent, and now you're just making them even better now. Okay, but I have to call this.
I should have also included the battle swords.
Oh, man,
yeah, the battle swords and Trixie would have strengthened your argument, Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, well, I basically had to. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to try and deny what you just said there.
I mean, you can't deny the power of Kristen Shaw.
Well, I mean, yes, I can, but that's a whole other.
Anyway, okay, guys. One, I'm in love with both of these ideas, and even the ones you're just kind of throwing out there now by plussing them, but a little too late for those. But what we have to work with here, I got to be honest. I mean, here's the thing. Tiki's making a valid argument for Woody, but by the same time, I think Jacob has the better ride pitch, even though it's sparing, but it's effective. I'm gonna go with. Unbelievably, I'm gonna go with Rex here. I'm gonna go with Rex.
Oh,
I mean, here's the thing. Believe me, as much as I don't know if everybody. Look, I'm not just gonna put my own personal stuff on there. I'm saying, like a black and white thing for the.
Well, I
you
know
can't-
you're a big Woody guy, so I know you're not putting your personal stamp on it.
I mean, it's the thing is, honestly, it's the fact of the matter is, I wish I heard you kind of say like you would be in that scene from Toy Story 2. Like you would be like the whole kinescope effect, the immersiveness. I just feel you just kind of said it writes itself.
That really is one of the best scenes from Toy Story 2.
I don't know. I don't know. But again, the
right.
point being, two excellent picks here. So let's see, Jacob.
Well, look, Jacob, that officially makes you the winner. Congrats.
Oh,
Yeah, you were at 4 points. I was at I was at 3 points. So
not bad for someone who didn't even score a point in the main round.
right. Oh God.
I won through basically pure luck and speed round questions.
I now really regret flipping that coin at the end of the main 3 rounds. I wonder how this would have panned out if I hadn't done that.
And not bad for someone who basically fudged his argument at the last 15 seconds.
Oh God.
I mean, don't get me wrong though. That would make an interesting ride though.
I think Greg is more in love with the concept than he is the argument, but that's whatever.
I mean, I'd like to see Woody's roundup, honestly, too. I mean, that would be.
I mean,
with
look,
the concept. Look, Jay. I will say that I will. It's. I do think that the concept itself is definitely. It's definitely more memorable than Woody's Roundup. Woody's Roundup has been pitched before, so.
Well, good game, Tiki.
All right.
well, I mean, just lastly, just one thing though is, I mean, Rex. Again, you also have like the character you don't see that much added to it as well. Because I mean, Woody's all over the place, and you have him when he also worked in that. Again, this wasn't back in the argument, but the whole Midway Mania thing. But the point being, like Rex is kind of the unknown entity. Also, I think scored him some points there.
I mean, basically the only other option would be Mr. Potato Head,
Which, well, probably wouldn't be as feasible, but
or basically Sunnyside.
sure.
I could picture a Mr. Potato Head ride where it's like a trackless dark ride, and each ride vehicle is a different like body part.
And it looks like it's being assembled in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw this as like a dark ride here. Okay, Mr. Potato Head. It's basically your the whole like Peter Pan style. It's like Mr. Potato Head goes to pieces, and it's the toys helping them reconstruct themselves, or you find like the pieces
Yeah, that's
going.
what I'm saying. That'd be a lot of fun.
Or you see like the pieces like finding themselves and just like crawling to the bottom and go through scenes in Toy Story like environments and stuff. Maybe that. And of course, we have the kaleidoscope effect when we get to his eye, just like we do with Mrs. Potato Head. We do something like that. Anyway,
It totally works. It totally works.
all right, let's see. So again, thanks to anybody who, thanks to the folks that turned in, like Donovan Martin, Monkey, and may or may not be Sandy Claus. He came from the '90s. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. We're very excited about Toy Story 4 coming up. I mean, again, it could be. I'm going to be sweating. I'm pretty much sweating bullets now, but I don't know. I'm a little bit more. I'm just distracting myself around here, but I'm hoping for it.
I think we're all basically pretty much going to love it almost anyway.
Well, I'm going to binge the marketing after I see the movie, regardless, because I just got to know what they did marketing wise. Because I've been downplaying that this go around. Anyway, so you guys have fun?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is definitely an interesting argument. We should
What do you guys think of how the hidden coin was implemented? Do you think it's a keeper?
Could be.
I'm not opposed to it. I like it. We'll see how.
Yeah, I like it because I feel like I said, I feel like it definitely adds an air of suspense to it. And Dragon, you're really good at playing up that suspense.
It's more like I think he likes messing with us.
Yeah.
Guess it's the sadist in me. Anyway.
All right.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Again, we'll have some other debates down the line. I won't confirm or deny what exactly they're going to be on. Chances are, we're kind of been. I don't want to let anything like specific. Let's just say if everything goes accordingly, we might be doing kind of maybe a Looney Tunes specific one, maybe along with a regular debate. Point being, we're going to see like if one wins out over both, or vice versa.
I'm actually in the process of planning a Looney Tunes one.
Exactly. So that's That's the thing. At the very least, it looks at the Looney Tunes one's going to just a question we're going to be able to do kind of two, like Disney and a Looney Tunes one's. Quite point being, anyway, might have just a specified Looney Tunes debate coming up. Yeah, I believe next month. Yeah, so okay. Anyway, folks. Of course, as we mentioned, Just Giggle it. Check him out. Of course, for Harley Quinn, the Joker versus the Real World. Get episode 6's trailers coming out. Of course, while you're watching episode 6, rewatch episode 5. Send it around. Get some traction on it so we get the view count up. I already reached 500,000. Just need to get it up a little more. Let's say another half. Get to 1 million. Get that episode 6. Gonna be ready, waiting in the can. All right. Well, folks, remember, you've got a friend in me.
That's it. Just you've got a friend in me.
Well, yeah. I think now it's just kind of I lost all the dramatic tension on that one, but
to infinity and beyond.
To infinity and beyond.
I am Mrs. Nesbit.